So we'll begin with our Ujjayi breath. We'll align skull bones over tail as a means of orienting toward our central sense of self. When we find core, we can find anywhere. We can find everywhere in the body. So by going deeply to this seemingly singular locale, we actually can touch in and sense everywhere in the body. And then we'll place the soles of our feet together in Baddha Konasana. Hands walking forward, just moving into a forward fold, keeping the feet pressing lightly one into the other. And as best as I'm able, moving the pelvis around the thigh bones. That goes a little bit differently than bending the spine over the feet. If I can get a sense of the pelvis moving around the thigh bones, I can lengthen through the spine more than simply bending it. And feeling breath in the pelvis, in the pelvic floor. Feeling breath in the backside. Not necessarily needing to stretch the backside, but breathing into the backside. We can distinguish between kind of pulling or drawing the body into a sensation and breathing into the body to feel it, to sense it. And then release, move upright. We'll extend the right leg out and the left foot drawn in, and this can be foot inside thigh, or this could be half lotus. Where the left leg is bent, the right leg is straightened. Now, as we get moving into this, the right leg will likely tend to roll off to our right. So engaging through the inner leg, reach the left hand behind, grab either your half lotus foot or grab onto some thigh clothing. Inhaling, raise the right arm. And you may have to actively turn or reach that inner right leg. Exhaling, fold forward. And coming up just slightly, enough to lengthen back out the torso and turning the chest open to the left. This way I'm getting into a little more of the neck and the shoulder. And release. All right. So to switch sides, we'll straighten the left and either bend the right knee, keeping the leg on the ground, or bring it into half lotus. The right hand will go behind the back, grabbing either the half lotus foot or some clothing. Inhaling, telescoping the ribs up away from the hips. And just like we did before, exhaling, feel if the pelvis can move around the thigh bones. As we fold, as we lengthen the trunk forward. The tendency of left leg is to spill or roll off to the left. So it's not just turning the toes up, it's the whole leg is engaged such that the toes end up pointing upward. Coming up slightly, enough to lift the chest away from the lap. I'm going to set the head down. And with the right hand still connected, I turning the chest open to the right. And release. Let's unwind all of that. And let's lie on back with a strap. So I need to get mine. And I'm going to create a large loop with the strap. It's about yay large. All right, and we'll put that loop around the left foot. Leaving the right knee bent. And the right hand will scoot behind the head, holding the skull, and the left hand can hold this left leg vertical, or it's more or less vertical. The function of the left hand connected to the left foot is to draw the leg bone just slightly downward. In this downward, really just letting my arm weight hang into the left leg, my sacrum stays on the ground. Inhale into the low belly, into the low back. Spread the left foot bones, heck, spread all the foot bones. And then exhaling, float the head, the shoulder blades up. Feel the weight of the left arm drawing the left leg downward. Draw the low belly down. Inhale, set the head down. And there may need to be a little coordination. I suspect the coordination may be to allow the leg to move down. So we'll do a few, we'll just find out what happens. My left arm weight is pulling the strap, pulling the leg toward the earth. Exhale, I'm lifting the head and the shoulder blades off the ground. Now in that lifting up, perhaps you felt your left leg pushing toward the sky. This is one of those where you could feel the bone moving toward the ground, then drawing the low belly down. We'll do a couple more for this side. So inhale, we'll set the head down. Foot active, feet active. Exhale. The head, the shoulder blade lifts up. And at the same time, feeling the thigh bones sink toward the earth. I'm just using the weight of my left arm. That way I feel the sacrum stay on the ground. We'll do one more for this left side. Inhaling. Feel the left arm weight in that left leg. Exhale. Float head, shoulder blade up. Feel the thigh bone sinking toward the earth. Feel the sacrum on the ground. Draw low belly down. Feet active. Good. We'll release the head down. We'll switch sides. So a simple move, but you may have to relax quite a bit in the hip socket. I'm just taking a guess. I'm making a presumption that for many of us, when we do this type of abdominal, lifting the head and shoulder blades up, that our leg and our back kind of get pushed and squeezed away from the earth. This is just another way to work with hip creasing or hip flexion. My left hand's behind head, my right hand in the loop is offering weight, which allows the right leg to sink toward the ground. Inhale into the low belly and the low back. And exhaling with the feet active, I'll float the head and the shoulder blade up. Feel the weight, the descent of the leg toward the earth. Draw the low belly down. Inhaling the head down. We'll do about 3 more. This may require a lighter touch than you may have been expecting. The feet are active, and then we exhale the head, shoulder blade up, feeling the right thigh bone moving toward the earth. Drawing the low belly down. All right, let's do the last 2 on our own. If I am to reach the leg out, just a little backdrop to this. There's a good chance that there's squeezing around the butt, the sit bone, the tailbone. With this one, I find that I actually have to relax the back area of the pelvic floor. I have to relax near the anus and the tailbone and around the hip socket. So that could just be a nice different. All right, so we'll bring both legs up, and with a prop, I'm using a block. You could use a roll or a block. Put the object between the legs. And this one will leave our head down. This is the one where we'll press the block to encourage a very strong squeeze. So with the feet active, inhale into the low back, into the low belly. We will pause, the legs squeeze the object, and now the hands push the object. I push as if away from my nose. The response of the legs is to squeeze more strongly, and now exhale, straightening the legs. I don't have to push them out to straighten. Actually feeling the thigh bones move toward the ground as the knees straighten. Draw the low belly down. Inhaling, letting up. So I squeeze the object, then push with the hands, so I get even more squeeze. And then exhaling, the thigh bones sink toward the sacrum and the ground, legs, knees straighten. Draw low belly down. Inhaling, letting up. Squeeze object, press object, exhale. So I'm letting the thigh bone sink down, just like we did with the strap. So there's some degree of relaxedness around the hip socket. Draw the low belly down. We'll do 3 more on our own. And this is one of those where I wish I could see more closely how we're working with the leg bones and the hip sockets. The feeling I'm kind of just playing with is feeling the thigh bones go downward, even as the legs straighten. So there's engagement with a very specific quality of relaxed hip sockets. And again, this is just predicated on a presumption that when we straighten the legs, we actually squeeze the legs from the back of our sockets and kind of toward the sky, and the legs and the sacrum actually move away from the ground. And that could be a really nice back stretch, but I just want to help us feel that the sockets, the thigh bones, can situate back into the sockets. All right. So let's remove the roll. We'll turn onto our hands and our knees. And we'll find out if this has any carryover into downward dog. So if everything is kind of informing each next thing, then can I keep those hip sockets gliding, unclenched? Can I feel my thigh bones moving in the direction of my sacrum as we exhale the knees off the ground? Downward dog. By keeping the pelvic floor more relaxed, breath receptive, we're doing this in downward dog, so a little more slack in the system. One, can we get a sense of the hip socket, the joints contacting? Can we feel the slidingness and the contact of the thigh bone and its socket? Can we feel our breath in the low back? I find that this contributes a lot of ease to the back of the tail area and the low back. There you go. And I may have to offer that gesture of release around the tail, around the back of the pelvic floor. Find a way to soften around, step the left foot forward. Lunge, setting the right knee down. And inhaling, backing up, setting the hands down. Exhale, chaturanga. We step the left foot back. And we'll lower. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower, downward dog. Feeling the softness around the hip crease, around the hip socket. When our joint surfaces contact in novel ways, when the joints are sliding and relating differently than usual, the tension relationships in the muscles may feel different. Inhale, let's step the right foot forward, lunge on the other side, setting the left knee down. I'm not raising my arms up, but you certainly could raise your arms up. So I'm just hanging out here for a moment with you. And we'll set the hands down, exhaling the left foot forward, and we'll fold feet at the top of the mat. You can feel for relaxing around the hip crease. Can the pelvis move around the thigh bones? Now inhale, coming up to standing, drawing the arms up. Exhaling, hands to heart. So this gets us into a pretty good spot. If you have room, I would love for you to bring one or your two blocks next to a wall and the long edge of your mat to the wall. And here's the thing, if you don't have a mat's amount of length at the wall, you just fold your mat in half. This amount of wall will work just fine. But if no wall, do your best. It'll work out. We get a little love for this hip socket. I'm next to the wall, my right side. Pardon me. My right side is as near to the wall as I can get. This is my left knee. That's up, that's forward. And now I fit my one or my two blocks between my knee on the wall. Okay. So my leg that's inside the room is holding the blocks against the wall. I need to shuffle these blocks down so I have room to cross my elbow over my thigh. So a couple little details here if we're following along in this kind of hip in the socket sensation. Soft, you're being very soft in the hip socket and feeling the thigh bone just kind of smushel into the back of that curvy socket. Then, as I'm squeezing the thigh into the blocks, one of the hopes is you get a lot of support around this hip. Just work, and there's also a lot of support. Inhale, reaching the right arm up, or the wall side arm up, whichever is nearest the wall. And now twisting lunge, exhaling that right elbow, that wall elbow, over the leg. I'm going to take a look and make sure we're kind of situated. There we go. And so the block doesn't interfere with the elbow. One of the hopes is that this prop setup allows you to engage the legs in a way that's meaningfully supportive in that hip, your left hip. And if that left hip is meaningfully supportive, then can you get a sense of how the torso can spiral without so much strain on the low back? Felt that quality of stretching the low back in these twists. And I do. I lean against the wall. A lot of support from the wall. And yes, that left leg is pulling into those blocks, pulling into the wall. We'll set these blocks down and we'll stand. Now, I'm going to remain right side near wall. And I raise the left leg up. So one is my right hand can grab my outer thigh. Two is standing alternate twist. I grab my outer foot. Same principles. Can we feel the thigh kind of relaxing into the socket, even though the leg is working strongly? So that will be your left, the right hand is grabbing the left leg for this twist. Yeah, it'll feel more like the last thing we did. So if I can feel that thigh bone just relaxing back into the socket as I straighten my leg, again, it may not be quite as strenuous on the low back tissues. So some of these little things that we're doing, they're all really predicated on not all of us. When we go to power, squeeze so much around the hip that the tension relationships in the hip become very durable. I'm just trying to help us find an easier way to the muscles by gliding those joints in. I'm going to set that left foot down, folding and stepping back into downward dog. If you're off your mat a little bit, that's fine. I want you to step back into downward dog. So again, you can feel the pelvis kind of gliding over the thigh bones. The thigh bones are relaxing back into the sockets. Resultantly, I can hang my torso, my low back, my mid back. Inhale, step the right foot forward. I need to turn around. And we'll do those two moves on the other side. So I'm starting in half kneel. My left side of body is near wall. Using my 1 or 2 blocks. My right inner knee will hold, squeeze them against the wall. And when you've got good angles, good connection, we'll exhale that, that left elbow across the right thigh. So stand, I'm keeping my left side near the wall. And here's that standing alternate twist. My left hand, my right leg. Okay, so you could grab the thigh if you're just working on some balance. Grab that outer right foot. And then sensing the thigh bone gliding back into the pelvis. Again, I'm being repetitive, But if we thrust that right leg forward, we kind of stiffen all of this wonderful supportive tissue around the hip, it can just get tighter and tighter and tighter, almost like trying to pull a knot out, but we keep pulling the knot tighter and tighter. But if I can feel the thigh bone relaxing back into the socket, I can still straighten the leg. And I can breathe into my low back, and I can breathe into the pelvis, and I can breathe into the low abdomen. And that allows me to reach that right hand out even further. And I can open up through that right chest. This whole rib can move and move and move and move. And then we'll release, we'll set that down. So let's stay near the wall. Hopefully you have an amount of wall. We'll do downward dog on the wall. So I'm just setting up my narrow edge of mat against the wall, stepping into downward dog with my heels near the wall. And I'll give us a moment here to position ourselves. Also to feel both thigh bones melting back into the pelvis. And then we'll step a foot hip height. Exhaling the other foot hip height. Works really simple today, but I hope you're finding some new sensations through the low back, through the hips. I hope this feels really nice, really easy, gliding. I hope there's a lot of ease for you in your hips and in your back. And after about 6 or maybe 8 breaths, we can certainly step down. I want to revisit one place, kind of, from yesterday. We're taking a fold, and I'll show you in a moment. It's a fold where we rest our spine, our backside, on the wall, and we walk or narrow our downward dog. Let me show you so it's... Okay. So I approach the wall with my hands and my head near the wall. I go very wide with my legs, and I just begin to lean and walk. I get my upper back against the wall. Now from there, my head is clear of the ground. My hands are pushing, making sure I don't head bonk the ground. From there, I may have my legs bent. I might be able to straighten them as I walk my feet closer to the wall. So it's kind of a tortoise prep, I guess we can say. So I'm leaning my spine, my back, against a wall. And I can do this profile for you. If it's more helpful, I'll show you on this wall. I take a wide downward dog. I walk my upper back, my mid back against the wall. And I continue to walk forward as much as is interesting. Just a word about exiting. I gotta step way back and push myself away from the wall when I'm ready to stand. Okay, so here we go. We're going in. There it is. I take a wide downward dog, and I just keep walking forward, neck relaxed, until I feel maybe my upper back or my shoulder blades touch the wall, maybe my mid back. I feel your low back on the wall. There it is. And I use the foot pressure to suspend or stick my back to the wall. And this allows me to relax the head and the neck. My hands on the ground. Most of our elbows will be bent. If you reach the elbows away from the wall, you can encourage another form of out across the shoulder blade area. You may love that. And we're breathing into the back side. The knees may have to be bent. The heels might be on the ground or off the ground. I walk the legs into whatever position my spine feels supported. Kind of pinning my torso against the wall so it can hang out and relax. The hands, the feet, doing a good amount of the work. To me, in my body, this is a very nice alternate to things like shoulder stand. Almost all of us will get the upper back and the mid back to the wall to some degree, and then flexibility and leg position will determine how much more of the spine or the pelvis touches the wall. Nice way to feel that your breath reaches the back side of the body. All right, and the stepping away. Hands press the ground. Step a foot back, push. Step a foot back, push. Just making sure the head is entirely clear of the wall as you stand. When we have a seat, we'll take either half lotus or lotus. This will be a two-sided pose, so whatever side you cross now, we'll do the other cross in a moment. So we're working Tolasana, or scales. Hands go under shoulders. And moving on exhale, I'll push the ground, push. So one, my arms straighten, my shoulders slide down. Some weight comes off my butt, maybe my legs and my butt lift off the ground. We'll hold it for a few breaths. we can release, and we'll switch sides so we're getting the other side of our lotus or half lotus. Now, if you choose lotus, it's possible both knees, both feet lift off the ground. And if you choose half lotus, it's possible one foot still kind of hangs out on the ground. That's great. All right. Hands beside hips, under shoulders. I like shoulder width. Moving on exhale, push down, the butt lifts, the legs lift. And in fact, I'm pulling the legs toward my torso. There you go. And you might just get a little weight shift. That's great. And release. We'll unwind the legs. We'll lie on back. And we'll give this some rest moments. And so as you're resting, can you sense breath in pelvis? The pelvis breathes. So we're using that ability to breathe into the pelvis to also lead us into feeling that the pelvis breathes. When the pelvis breathes, there may be the subtlest motion of the bones in the socket. Not that we're causing it, not that we're trying to move our legs, but just that the pelvis breathes. There's this collateral freedom and motion of the thigh bones and the sockets. Kind of a pulsation in each of the hip sockets. And feel the pelvis, the weight, the mass. Feel it release down to the ground. So at this point, no effort is needed to tuck or pucker the pelvis. It rests. It breathes. And a collateral gift of that resting, breathing pelvis is we find the low back breathes. The knees breathe. The organs breathe. And when you're ready, bend knees. Turn to a side and press to seated. Namaste.